Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Admiral Markets. We're going to take a look at the Forex charts together in this Forex trading room. The disclaimer, though, first of all, explaining that the online material here that you see is made for a global audience. Please take into consideration that this info may not be suitable for everyone, though. To get the corresponding information on charting conditions and any other details, take a look at admiralmarketsglobal.com. Select your country of residence and contact an appropriate entity. The risks, of course, involved are high. Please be aware of that. Trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. And this webinar is for educational purposes only. By continuing viewing this webinar, you agree with the risk disclaimer content shown here. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for your attention. Alrighty, so today we're going to take a look at Fibonacci and wave trading. That will be the main focus. Fibs will be our primary tool, but we use Fibs in any case quite often in other sessions as well. A quick go-to trading plan will be to look at the trend as step one. Either we determine to trade against it, in it, or if there's no trend and we're trying to trade ranges. We discussed ranges earlier this week on Tuesday, in fact. Then we're going to take a look at what is the opportunity. Just because there's a trend doesn't mean that that's a good opportunity right away, right there, right then. Maybe a pullback or chart pattern could be a better moment. Checking if there are any filters, for instance. Is there divergence that could stop the trade from developing? Then we might even look for a trigger, right? Just because we have the first three things good, we still might want to judge, for instance, wait for a trendline break, for instance, or the currency to move back to a fib level. Now we could enter right away at that fib, but we don't have to. We could also wait for a candlestick pattern at the fib, which would be the entry, for instance. All right, with that said, take a look at Admiral Markets and social media. And let's take a look at the calendar. We got German manufacturing PMI, French manufacturing PMI in 10 and 40 minutes. So those will definitely impact the euro. Let's see if they're upbeat or down. The euro is going to move accordingly a bit, at least. Then the technicals will kick in again. So let's take a look at those. USD core CPI and a lot of other USD news following suit in the New York session. So let's take a look, at the euro dollar. No, this is the pound, euro dollar here. So obviously an uptrend is the 30-minute chart, and you can clearly see that the euro dollar is above the moving averages, so there's no doubt about that. Currently price is moving towards those moving average, so we can easily conclude that we're in a retracement at the moment. Going back to support, so we might be in a bouncing spot. I wouldn't be too keen on trading the euro before those news announcements, though. So let's wait. I would rather wait for the news announcements to happen and then reanalyze this. If price, however, breaks through the support level, breaks through the 61.8 fib, then maybe we'll see a down move to 137. But as long as price stays roughly above 137, it could still have a pretty bullish potential. If it really starts to break because of the news, breaks through 137, then hooks back throughout the day, then it's probably more a shorting environment. So it's too soon to tell. At the moment, it has a bullish structure. The news event could change that. If it doesn't, then we're good to go for longs, I would say. If it does change the structure, there could be later today more shorting potential. But then we would need to see these moving averages turn over and become red. Now they're blue. They're up. They're bullish. We'd have to see that become bearish at a downside angle. So that's the 30. I don't expect that we will see much of a break now because I think the market will kind of slow down prior to that news event. We might see a rebounds up. In fact, at the moment, if we zoom into the 5-minute chart, just because of the news event, you see we're already seeing a pin bar here on the 5-minute chart. That doesn't surprise me because this downside was already a hefty move for an early morning move. This is already a 30-pip move. That's a lot for that early in the day, especially with the news event around the corner. So what happens? We get a bit of a bounce. And I wouldn't be surprised to just see some consolidation here like this, go sideways until the news event. And then, of course, it depends on the news event if we get a spike up or spike down. And then we'll have to rejudge it. Spike down, the support level could still be 78.6. If we get a rebound from 787 from one of these two fibs, I still consider that a bullish bounce. This is 15-minute chart. You can see we're at a potential bouncing spot here at this trend line. We also have a clear resistance level right here. Of course, once we break above these resistances, there's a good chance for the euro dollar to move up again and continue this up path on this hourly chart. You can see up, this uptrend, and we have its potential to go up to 138, where there's the targets, maybe 138.30 even, right? There are a bunch of targets right there. So that would be the fib target as well, right? The minus 272 and the minus 168 are right there. Those are fib targets. Good. We also have a bigger minus 272, minus 618 target here. You don't see it because of the red line right there. That was from this upside hook back to the 61.8, right? Do we see that here? This swing high, swing low went back to the 61.8 fib. The target right here, the minus 272 and the minus 618. So there's the potential for price to make above magenta to make that breakout trade right there. And 7.8 and 8.86 fib potential bouncing spots. That would be the structure, I would say, on the euro dollar today. Yesterday, just to review yesterday so that we take a look at what was said yesterday and see if that happened. We said there could be a retracement to retrace yesterday's candle. That's exactly what happened. We had a fall yesterday as a retracement in 3 moves down, basically, down to the 61.8 fib. Right, we were saying that potentially the top here could become support. So the 50 or 61.8 fib could be supporting level. That's exactly what happened because that's where we got the bounce. So we had to move down and then the bounce, as indeed said yesterday. Is the sound working properly, by the way? I had a comment here, but that's a while ago. So, great. Okay. Thank you for that confirmation. So let's move on. With that said, euro just in the waiting mode for the news. Pound dollar had a bit of a slow. This is the 5-minute chart. It was a bit choppy here, but did make. For me, it wasn't too surprising to see the pound indeed move up here. Now getting a hook back. Pound dollar seems definitely bullishly set up. Let's show why on the 30-minute chart for the moment. Or maybe the 1 hour is even better. Yeah, that's better. Look, we have this big move up. It's a big impulse. That's not a small impulse because price moved about 500 pips, I would say 550 within a couple of hours here. That's a pretty aggressive, pretty steep price action move up. So that's something we don't want to underestimate. So there is a good chance for price to continue with that uptrend, and this is just a correction. This is also a very slow, methodical correction move. This is typical correction. This is typical impulse. What normally would happen is we get a continuation. The reason that that's a pretty decent chance, and a pretty decent chance we'll break at least this top where I have the blue circle, is just because there's also no divergence here. As I said, this is a very strong move up. So the chance of the top being broken is very, very good. And we don't have divergence, so I don't see anything stopping that. Now the question is when and where. The answer could be today, could be tomorrow. One thing to keep a good eye on is, I think, this magenta line, because once we break that magenta line, then we know there's a good chance that it could happen when it breaks. Now we got this uptrend channel going on as well. We could put on the chart like this. And well, as long as price stays in that channel and above the long-term moving averages, I don't see any reason to change that bullish view. Just waiting for the break above magenta. This is the 4-hour world. Very bullish move. Also the 4-hour world, there's no divergence between these tops. So that's a green light. Back to our hourly, we could put a fib, for instance, from here to here. Okay, I'm not putting a fib on the entire move up because I'm using the 1-hour fib. This is the 1-hour chart. And why is this the 1-hour fib? Well, it could be a bit lower even, actually. Just a tad lower, because if you look at the oscillator, where did it cross the zero line? It did so here. Where did it go back to the zero line? It did so here. That means that this move is one swing high, swing low on this chart. And price, as we know, stopped at the 38.2 fib yesterday, then basically retested it again, the second time in fact. Unfortunately for those who were in that long, it didn't, it made one more retest. And now we're bouncing again above the 38.2. So let's zoom into the most recent price action. Here you can see we're kind of stuck in a wedge as well, in a consolidation, in a range. So looking for a break above that. Now any downside, I'm really not too interested, although there could be a small reversal trade if we break this 15-minute trend line. I'm not too interested in that personally. I know that some traders would be looking for that upon the break of this bottom here for maybe a downside to the 50 fib. But there's even a trend line here as well coming in as a potential support. So I don't like that idea personally. I'd rather wait for this breakout here personally. That's not a fib trade. A fib trade would have been here at the 38.2 or 50 fib. So if you're a fib trader, the best would be to wait for the 50 fib, or you're already in the trade, or wait for the break, wait for a hook back to a fib, and then fib this breakout and take the breakout fib. So let's see how price reacts this morning. We're gonna have to see an impulse here, and then the next break would be a very good one, I think. And what would be the target? The target would be all the way up at 169.38, which is the minus 272 target of this fib. And there's a lot of space to the upside. Why is there that much space? Because first of all, and primarily, of course, we have that fib target in play, but primarily because we had a tremendous impulse and we're way, way back at the bottom of that trend channel, which creates a lot of potential space. That's why. So I'm very interested in this pound dollar. Let's see if the market confirms that analysis. I have clear lines in the sand to wait for, and so now it's just a question of patience and waiting for the market to confirm or not confirm and act accordingly. Alrighty, folks. Alrighty, well, with that said, let's see, what else can we discuss? Let's go to the dollar yen. I think this is all. If you have questions on any pairs that we discuss, by all means let me know. If you have doubts why I see it this way, just feel free to ask. Pound is making its usual spikes, so we have to be careful of the pound as well. Its usual volatility. Oh, euro dollar is pushing fast. pushing through this support line right in here at the moment. Maybe we already had a news release. Let's take a look. PMI France, yes, less than expected. Well, as we said, you have to be careful with the euro because that PMI will definitely influence it. And upon the release, we did see another 30 pip fall last 5 minutes. So if you're a news trader, then you were probably looking for that. As a technical trader, there could have been this support line break, but yeah, that could have been a potential. But as I said, I'd rather wait for the news to finish before trading. So it depends on your own preference. We did have a clear break of this support, as I said, and this potential space to 78.6. We just hit that 78.6. So if you're a fib trader, then that could have been an interesting spot. But as I said, I personally would rather wait for the news and wait for a clear direction and then judge if there are any trades. Pound is doing the same. There could be, as I said, that potential to fall here, but also not too interesting in my opinion. Let's take a look at dollar yen. Dollar yen made a push up, but found resistance. And dollar yen is pushing through the support line, which means there could be a fall down to the next support at 101.38. That could be a bouncing spot. And dollar yen is definitely now in a 15-minute downtrend here for sure. But as I said, the bouncing spot, the bigger bouncing spot I would expect is 101.38. So there are a few pips left, but not much. And let's see. The better break happened here, in fact, the first break, about 15 pips higher. The space down here compared to the risk is getting not so favorable. So the other way of doing it is if you are expecting a potential bounce, then one way to do it is put a fib here, and the 78.6 could be maybe a bouncing spot too, I don't know. Although we are in a downtrend, so we want to be careful with this fib. Maybe not the best idea. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. Well, we're a bit stuck in two worlds. First of all, we're on the dollar yen daily, as you probably know, we're at a 50 fib. But we're also at the 50 fib if we put a fib to the downside here. So we're bouncing between two 50 fibs. So the question is, which 50 fib is going to win? Are we going to get the downside break here and maybe further? Or are we going to see an upside break and this upside happen? Well, these two blue lines, I guess, are the most important for that answer. Anything within there is a bit messy, but yeah, still 101.40.38 here is still a support level, important one. So how about that CAD? The CAD really moved a lot yesterday. I don't know if anyone looked at that. We talked about the fact that this could be a falling wedge, remember? Anyone take that trade at the 50 fib? We talked about the 50 fib being a bouncing spot yesterday. Well, that worked out almost to the pip. Here, there's just a few pips difference somehow. Let me see if I have the fib correctly. Yeah, it looks correct. Well, anyhow, a couple of pips difference. And that was a massive upside. So I don't see any comments, but we did definitely talk this fall, and if it in more and boy, oh boy, did it bounce tremendously. Even if you took it upon the break of the falling wedge. So there are different trades possible. The 50 fib would have been possible. The break above the fractal here, the break above the falling wedge, the break above this resistance, depending on your trading plan, depending on your ideas. But that was a great trade. Dollar CAD weakness was very nice on against this dollar as well. That's how chart patterns can help us with identifying potential reversals. So what now? Well, let's see. There's a big momentum burst. So I would expect continuation of this. And if we get a break, I would say above this resistance line, there should be a decent chance of continuing further. We don't have any divergence, obviously, because this is just one thrust up. So I wouldn't expect much of a retracement, maybe max to this bottom, although we never know. I wouldn't necessarily take a trade at the bottom here. I would rather wait for the break of this top line. So let's see when that happens. That's something very interesting. The Aussie got a break of this magenta line we had on the charts yesterday. Did anyone take that trade by any chance? Was in a triangle here. We talked about the 38.2 fib, of course, being the turning spot potentially. And we had a big wick at that. That was yesterday's analysis, or we reviewed it yesterday, I should say, because we said, look, there was a big wick at the 38.2. We broke this magenta, and we actually crashed a bit through the green line. We went close to, we went to the 886 fib and bounced off that fib of the very last up move. So there was a good fall here, here, and here, with some extra bonus pips when price broke through this green line. That was earlier today. In fact, I guess it was it news related? Maybe it was, because this looks like a pretty big fall here. So let me take a look. I don't see any news on the Aussie. Well, in any case, it was a big fall, so it doesn't matter what it was. But so the hourly is now finally switching over. It is finally looking like a downtrend here on this hourly chart of the moving averages pointed down. It takes time, doesn't it? It really takes time for an uptrend to break, right? We hit the 38.2, but the downside was choppy, and finally we're getting some more speed. So looks like the Aussie could be back in a downtrend, but let's see. We need price to move up, respect the moving averages, and move down one more time. Then we have a good trade down to purple. So that could be interesting today. The downside primarily, in my opinion. The downside when we hook back to these resistance. This bottom is also resistance now. The 90 even level is also resistance. This top at 90.11 is also resistance. All that could be potential stopping point for price resistance for that downside down to purple. Then we could see maybe another bear flag and then maybe another break. Something like that. So that's something to keep an eye on today. Let's take a look at Kiwi. Yesterday we were looking at the Kiwi and said, well, this upside is probably retracement and it could stop somewhere in here. Roughly, of course, that's not too precise. What I should have done actually is added a fib, and we would have seen that the 61.8 is a decent level, or the 78.6 for that continuation. and we got the trade down to the minus 272. So we can, well, I don't see this price going back all the way to the 78.6, so I wouldn't mind personally placing a new fib from here to here, and we can get again and move up to the 50, 61 or 78.6, and we should see, I would think, one more downside. But the whole thing, the whole 4-hour chart is quite choppy. The 1 hour is nice, but the 4 hour is yuck. Nothing special really. So, but I wouldn't be surprised, although I don't like it, the 4-hour view I don't like, to see that one more downside here on the Kiwi. That would follow probably the Aussie as well. But we need a bounce in this level for the Aussie. So Aussie Kiwi looking bearish, the dollar looking bullish against them. The euro and pound have a bullish structure, but have bearish price action at the moment. So those two don't line up. We can see pound actually fell and hit our support line and bounce off that. So there was that reversal breakout for 30 pips trade, which is, in my opinion, small, but I don't like those trades, as I said. But I did see the space there, and bouncing off pretty substantially off of this support. Let's see. Let's keep an eye on the pound. Other interesting things. Let's continue. Pound odd made a great break trade yesterday. We were talking about the potential for the pound odd to break here above that bull flag and continue. It did, but it didn't hit the target as yet. So this could be maybe a pullback for more. So pretty interested in that potential as well. So want to keep an eye on that pound odd as well. What I'm expecting, we did stop at the 61.8 fib of this, basically this breakout move. That could be a bouncing spot, but I'm not really excited to jump in right here, right now. I'd rather let the market a bit develop. What I would like to see is, at least in the 5-minute world, some kind of consolidation so that I know that this downside is finished, because we're on an impulse to the downside, which means we could still go lower. We can go to the 786, the 886 fib. All right, so we never know if this is the bouncing spot or whether a lower fib could be that. So I'd rather wait for some consolidation here. Then when we break above that smaller consolidation, there's a bigger chance of the uptrend to continue. Rather have a bit more patience and wait for that, because we don't know if this indeed will happen. We could still see a fall, and the 786 could be the bouncing spot. But in theory, I am on the lookout for basically this impulse, bull flag, break, pullback, continue trade. And if you don't mind stomaching or waiting through a consolidations period, then an entry here with a stop loss here, direct entry order could make sense. Depends how much micromanagement you want to do. I'd rather see if it could go a bit lower, maybe get a bit better price still. Sorry to hear that, Emmanuel, regarding the sound. You might want to check if you have many programs open. That could slow down the processing. I hope it's not from my end. It shouldn't be. I have the right microphone set up. So I hope that might help. Just a suggestion to see if that could work better. Then I have a question from Davor. I always appreciate questions, so by all means, whenever you want, I like to see questions, because then I know that people are actually looking at it and paying attention and interested in it. So that's good. So let's see. Davor is asking, please tell me why is fib levels, if drawn from the bottom 100% and top, is is 0%. Is that correct? Because logically is when start is 0 and end is 100. Well, it's never thought about it that way. Made sense indeed if you think about it, but I guess it doesn't really matter if 0 is here or 100 here in a way. I mean, 400 here and 0 here. It does depend how you draw it, because if I would draw it the other way around, like this, then it would be like that, right? Then we would have 100 here and 0 here. Then you'd have to draw it from top to bottom. But what Tarantula and I don't like about fibbing it this way is that you have the fib, well, basically you're doing it from past to future, from future to past, right? We rather fib from past to future, rather than the other way around, from closer to the past to further in the past. We don't like that somehow. We rather do it the other way around. I know that there are traders who do it this way. But I don't like the fact, I rather have it the other way around, because then the fibs make more sense to me, because then this is supposed to be a deep fib, but it's actually at the very top, which somehow I never really like that. Doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather do it this way. Conceptually, the fibs make more sense because the 38.2 is the bouncing spot. We have a webinar on fibs, which you can find in the archive, by the way, if you want to know more information on that. Here, you see pound odd is just following, continuing. That's because the pound odd is moving impulsively to the downside, and we never know, despite the trend, how far an impulse like that could go. That's why I rather wait for some 5-minute consolidation, so I know that if it breaks above the consolidation, that it's ready to rebound. Now we don't know that. It could break all the way down to these fibs or even lower, right? We need to have some patience here. The pound dollar apparently, after this bounce up, is finding some downside. I'm not sure. Let's see how far this could go. At the moment, it's actually right now again at the blue moving averages. So let's see if this is a second bouncing spot. Here too, the same would be true as the pound odd. Looking for some 5-minute consolidation, and then I wouldn't mind trading above it for the bounce. But still in the waiting game. Alrighty, folks, let's see. CAD is reversing a bit, but still should be a retracement in my opinion. What else can we look at? If you're in a short on the pound yen, that looks like a good idea because we did bounce off this resistance line here. And it seems like we already broke out of this support like this. We broke out of this support. We even broke out of this one. So the pound yen short makes a lot more sense than the pound dollar short, in my opinion, because the structure is different. The market structure is definitely different. The pound dollar had a tremendous upside with a big impulse. Now this was an upside, but it wasn't an impulse. It was just a move up. There's divergence between the tops. The pound dollar doesn't have it. This has multiple divergences on the hourly. This is hitting a resistance line. The pound dollar broke a weekly resistance. Big differences. So I like that a lot. I like that trade, Björn. That does make sense to me. Pound dollar did it. It doesn't. Pound yen is a different structure indeed. So great job. We're getting a pretty good 1 hour impulse to that. And the dollar yen is moving down. Now, how far could this go? One way of measuring it is by putting a fib on this downside here, and we can see we had a 61.8 fib. The target would be 169 for the moment, but if the pound really speeds up and the yen, we could see an acceleration to the minus 618 at 168.16. So keeping an eye on the 5-minute world and judging how far this could go would be a good idea. As soon as the bottom isn't broken by 5 to 6 candles, then we'll probably, especially if we hit the fib targets, we'll probably see a bit of a bounce and a rebound before we might continue down again. Alrighty, folks. Let's see, anything else to say? Just checking all the angles here, if there's anything else that needs to be added here that would make sense maybe. Not really. Trendline broken. Good. So let's take a look at Euro yen. That too reversing pretty steeply here. There was divergence between the tops. That's why personally I was a bit more cautious with the bounce. I did look for the bounce here, then decided not to take it because of the news. But we did get a hefty, this was a nice potential because we did get a very nice move up after this very impulsive downside. So this is sometimes a very good, a interesting setup that you can look at. Let's take a look at that. I wanted to share that with you. If you were, for instance, yesterday, right, we did have divergence here, but we knew that this could also have been a potential pullback from our upside. So, interesting enough, when we have something like a very big retracement within an uptrend, which it still was, although we had divergence, right? If you get a very steep correction down to a fib, what you can do is look at the 5-minute chart, but you need a big impulse. Let's see. So what you need is a big impulse in the uptrend, right, to the downside, and you get a bounce off the 61.8 fib, for instance, or any fib, right? But it's a very accelerated, over-exaggerated move. The first break of the first 5-minute fractal is like a rebound trade. It's like a dead cat bounce, right? Because you have that uptrend, even though there's divergence in this uptrend, you get a very exaggerated downside and then boom. It's like a V-Valley trade, right? Boom, boom. Now that V-Valley, I mean, this trade didn't break this top and it didn't go up all the way to, who knows where, very far, right? So let me zoom back to the hourly. That trade didn't continue up to the target, but it doesn't matter. It's basically a dead cat bounce trade. It didn't go up to this target, but that doesn't matter because if we zoom back to the 5-minute chart, basically our risk was for this, right, this small box. That minus 272 isn't our target. Basically the risk is about 20 pips or 18, and it went up all the way to 140.86, which is about 70. So it was roughly like a 41 trade potential. So how much do you grab out of that? If you use the 5-minute fractal trail stop, you could have gotten out here, for instance. If you aim for this trend line, you could have gotten out here. So that was a good dead cat bounce. Now, the follow-through, of course, isn't guaranteed, so you need to take profit. Anyhow, 3 or 4 to 1 is more than enough for a trade like that. Now, of course, the subsequent move down, whether you catch that or not, it doesn't really matter. You can't catch everything anyhow. In any case, we did have divergence, so that was a bit of a worry. This euro yen probably better than the euro dollar as well. I didn't see that this morning. But in fact, in retrospect, it does look like a falling wedge or an actually a descending wedge. Oh well, you can't catch everything, so that's for sure. Price is making a very sharp push through though, so next step would be to take a look at what the target could be and see where the bounce spot could happen. Wei is saying that the downside could be 139.12. Let's see. Well, if I use my fib targets, it looks like this could be roughly a bouncing spot already. 12, yeah, anywhere here or here. So yeah, 139-ish indeed, or here. But it would depend on the 5-minute world. This is one of those 5-minute impulses, which is very, very, very strong. So personally, either we need a consolidation, but I wouldn't even be looking for upside. Because it's such a big impulse. If we do get any upside, it'll probably be one more follow through at least. Yeah, it's this too powerful. It's a very, very strong move. The only thing I want trying to say is that because the euro and the yen are moving down, so it's a very, very, very big impulse. So might as well hang in there and try to see how far it can push. This is only 5-minute bars. The first indication that the impulse might be slowing down is when you get 5 to 6 candles that don't break the bottom. But in this case, because it's so early in the day, that would not be the total end of it. What we will get is a smaller consolidation once we don't break 5 to 6 candles, and then we'll get at least one more break, and maybe at least one more. Well, that we don't know, but at least one, maybe two. But this impulse can last until we have at least 5, 6 candles not breaking it, and then we'll probably see follow through. Wei was referring to basically wave C is not equal to the 1.618 of wave A. And that I can imagine would be probably around that level indeed. Yes, that looks to be so. Yep, indeed. So let's see how far this momentum can go. Let's take a look at how far the dollar yen is. Not too far. It didn't go too far down. It's primarily the euro that's falling. And the euro indeed fell, let's see, through our fib. So we can take that off. That's why it's good to be careful with taking entries at fibs without a confirmation. Let's see. Take a look at the 5-minute world. Every 5-minute candle has a newer low. So once again, if we keep cutting the low of the 5-minute world, that means we're still in the momentum down. And if this could still last and keep going. Same like the pound dollar. If you're not in the short, we just have to wait for 5 to 6 candles that at least didn't break the low. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. Let's see. Wei is asking about, earlier asked about the dollar CAD. Let's take a look about the wave count, because it is both a fib and wave session in fact. So if you have any questions regarding wave counts, by all means indeed, let me know. I will take a look at that. So let's take a look at the dollar CAD. Let's see. Let's take a look at this daily chart. Dollar CAD is very difficult to count, but obviously we started with an impulse here. So let's put a horizontal line there, vertical line, excuse me. You see, we have no divergence at the moment. So this could easily be a wave 3 of some degree. We don't know which ones because the dollar CAD is just very difficult to count the longer time frame. But because this is such an impulse, this is looking like a potential impulse wave 3. This could be a wave 4 correction, 50 fib. Not that unusual for wave 4, although 38.2 fib is more usual. The 50 could be as well. If the 50 breaks, then something else is going on. So for the moment, this could be a wave 1 of wave 5. Now, the wave 1 is looking a bit funky because it's just an impulse. Now, we don't know if wave 1 has finished, by the way. But the structure is looking strange because we don't have a clear hook back here and something like that. So that's not easy to read. But it could be 1. It could still be part of 1. If it is finished, if wave 1 is finished, then we could get a very deep pullback before continuing. We probably, in that case, a good idea to keep an eye on this bottom and this bottom, although I don't like trading it to the downside here, personally, because it could just be a very short downside down to 38.2 fib or 23.6, no, 23.6, and then up again. But yeah, not easy to count. Could be the start of wave 5 though. Let's see. Wei is asking about euro yen, if we can get maybe the bounce to the upside here. We'll have to take a look at the 4-hour chart indeed to have an idea if this downside is just a reversal or is it the retracement for more upside. We can see that there is potential support in here. Right there is a trend line support, and there too. So yes, there is a chance for price to bounce. It's easy to get mentally carried away by the downside here and maybe regret the pips that maybe someone took the trade, maybe not. Bjorn is in the pound yen sell, for instance. But if you see a fall like that, everyone instinctively thinks, oh, I wish I was in that trade. Therefore, keeps the bearish mind in view. But yeah, if we look at the bigger structure, we have to realize that it's choppy. The euro yen is choppy here. And it's at support potentially. So it could easily become another bouncing spot for that upside. It could. And we don't want to start shorting as this is actually moving up. That's how you want to keep your psychology focused on what could be happening next, because if you start regretting a move of the past, you could bias your view. And in the case of the euro yen, what I would like to see is some consolidation. And we might see, actually, where you were spot on, because I think it hit 11, didn't it? No, it hit 18. Oh, yeah, I was close. So, if we get some consolidation like that, then an early break of the triangle like that could be a reversal potential already. But that will happen later today. That's going to take some time. Or what we could see is like a small rising wedge and then a pop-up. I'm not saying it couldn't continue down, by the way. I just want to say that there is some danger here at the moment with the support. So that's all I want to say. And it will depend. If we get a bear flag like this and the moving averages roll over and start to act as resistance and we get a break of that bear flag, then that could be a great short. I'm not saying. Let's see. Next question. Dadul is asking about the negative euro news. Is that a reason for negative technical news? Well, not really. I think they're different things. The only thing that maybe I forgot to look at in retrospect, and by all means, if you see it, tell me. I just didn't see it. Is that there was divergence on the hourly, double divergence between these tops. Didn't see that. Didn't think about it. If I would have thought about it, then we know that divergence, when we have divergence, what is the goal? What is the target when there is divergence? The goal is the blue moving averages. And we just hit that. So the goal of that 1 hour divergence has been met. Let's see if we get a trend change as well. Will we see a reversal, or is this indeed just a retracement for more upside? For me, that's a bit early to tell, personally. Although the price action is bearish, I would like to see how price remains below this support. Will we see a bear flag like that? Then there is some potential for follow-through. Now, looking at this impulse in the 15, I would have to say that there's a pretty good chance of follow-through. That looks pretty bearish. I mean, from an hourly perspective, we're just back at the moving averages. But if we zoom in and look at it from up close, this is a pretty strong impulse. So that looks like a potential change to me. It is a very strong move down. Pound CAD was also a very good example yesterday of a big move up. Yesterday, a break of this trend line, for instance, or even this trend line right in here, even earlier. Made a couple of 100 pips move up. Well, anyhow, let's talk a bit more about the pound odd here. We got 1, 2, 3, fourth candle, so we still need a bit of patience, another 10 minutes. Let's take a look if there could be some divergence between the tops. Let's take a look. There's a bit, but in this case, there's only a single divergence. The euro dollar had double divergence. There's definitely a difference there. The 15 doesn't have divergence. Another reason why, another difference, or another reason why the upside here is more likely for a follow-through. Yes, yes, indeed, definitely way. Good observation. Not sure. I think we said it at the beginning, but doesn't matter. Indeed, looking for the break, pull back, and continue. So, great job. Totally agree with you on that. The only thing is, because of the pound downside, is that this could last. The impulse, we never know exactly how far it could go. So, just want to wait for the impulse to stop by saying, okay, I want at least 6 candles not to break this bottom. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. So instead of taking a direct entry order, I'm looking for some confirmation, because otherwise the fib might not get respected. I like to trade this way, just for all of you, by the way, because I like a bit of confirmation. already, folks. So let's see. This is 3, 4. This is the 5th candle. So we got another 9 minutes to go. Let's see if we can catch the classical break pullback and continue. Way says, by the way, that the target for head and shoulders already reached. I think that's what Way means, right there. $44 pips between the neckline and the head. Let's see, we've seen about 60 follow through. I'm not sure if that's the way was counting it. Let's see, with a pound dollar we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We already have 6 candles. They're usually a 1-to-1, by the way. Way is adding. Yeah, so looks like this impulse is over. Let's see. Would still like to either see a pullback or a break above a 5-minute top. If you like the potential bounce on this pound dollar. If you like this bounce off this trend line, then that's one way of trading it. If you rather wait for more confirmation, the entry, well, I like the pound odd a bit more at the moment, maybe, but because it already broke, so I'll be focusing on the pound odd. But the entry would be either for a hook back here when it retraces that, or wait for a 5-minute fractal and wait for the break above the 5-minute fractal. We don't have that 5-minute fractal as yet. The other one would be just the entry right here and with the stop loss below. But because I always like a bit of confirmation, I like to wait for normally a pullback or continue. But that has the disadvantage of sometimes missing a move, which I don't mind, but it depends. Or maybe even above the 1-minute fractal. The other way would be to wait. I know there are a lot of options here, but there always are. To let this 1-hour candle finish, basically. So 60 minutes to go. We might see a retracement of this hour's wick. So that's why I was trying to say, like, maybe waiting for a move down to retest the bottom could be one way of doing it. We could get a bit of a smaller double bottom here before moving up. So I do think that there is a potential for a better entry than just taking it here, but if it does move up like that, you have to be okay with not, it was like a big move up because it did break a trend line, so it is a bit stuck in two worlds because it's close to support as well. And if you want to wait for more confirmation, then waiting for a move above these magenta lines would also make sense. So let's take a look at the pound odd again. No, wait, we still need 5 more minutes. How's the euro doing? Got a good impulse break, now pushing up. This is the 4th candle. So it looks like this impulse is over at the moment, but we're not 100% sure. We still need a couple of candles. But as soon as we do have those couple of candles, any hook back, we'll probably see a bounce. And then we still might see downside though. But that would be like a 3-wave correction or an ABC in edit wave terms. Odd USD getting the bounce. Basically, odd USD is retracing back to the moving averages, retracing back to the broken trend line. Dollar CAD is right at our support level. Kiwi is retracing as well. Dollar yen is doing nothing at the moment. Pound yen broke that trend line. Let's see, still has a bit to go before it hits the target. Now, one thing we have to realize is that the pound yen did hit the minus 618 target here. So when you hit the minus 618 target of a fib, that's when you want to be. That's when you can be safe with moving your fib. Why is that? Because you want to be careful not to fib too soon. You don't want to take. You don't want to put five fibs in this blue circle, because it will whack you, right? That's too many fibs on too many small moves, and the tops and bottoms wouldn't get that much respected. So how do you know when you can move the next fib? The safe way to judge that is when you hit the targets, primarily the minus 618. Even the minus 272 you can move it, but you have to be very careful, because what could happen is, for instance, you get a downside. For instance, you get a hook back to the 38.2. You get to move down to the minus 272. And you're still vulnerable for the price to move up to the 50 fib and then move down. Have you ever seen this formation? Well, if you use the top here as your stop loss and you start putting a fib on the green lines, you just got taken out, and after that you see the move go down again. That's because when you have a shallow retracement to the 38.2 or the 50 fib and you move to the minus 272 target and price bounces there, there's the potential for price to move to the higher fib of the same swing high, swing low. Let's say it goes to the 50 fib, moves down to the 272 target, and then the upside correction could go to the 618 and then still fall. So anyhow, the point is that it's okay to move the fib now on this pound yen to here. We don't know if this is the stopping spot. The pound yen, let's see, didn't really have a big impulse. So but the 15 is showing a downtrend. So this is probably a good chance of being a hook back for more downside. But if we break above this 50-minute tops, then we're probably seeing a bigger correction going on. So these tops in here are important. Anything below that could still be a hook back for more downside. Euro yen is bouncing. Pound odd. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th candle. Doesn't look like we're going to get a break anymore. It looks like we're making a small consolidation here at the bottom of this impulse. So that's the 6th candle. Now we have to judge if this is just a pause for more downside, or is this indeed an upside. Considering in this case, I do think it's a decent chance of being an impulsive correction, which could end. I think it's a decent chance. I mean, you never know. You never know. Nothing is certain in trading. But it's something that I think makes sense to try. So let me put a pending there. I like it a bit more than the pound dollar because the odd USD is moving down potentially. Or it's moving up now, but it could be moving back to resistance. The only thing is, I don't know if it's a bit too early. I normally wait for 5-minute fractals. By using the 1-minute world, I'm a bit earlier than usual. Let me think about that. The other idea could be to actually put a pending at the 78.6 fib, because now that we've slowed down, if we get one more push through, the 78.6 is probably a decent chance that that could be a bouncing spot. Let me just calculate how long it would take before we get a fractal. The other two candles would be needed below this 5-minute candle. Another 8 minutes. I think I'll wait those 8 minutes. That doesn't really matter. Probably. Let me think about it. I'm not sure yet. Let's just take a look at what the German manufacturing was. Negative, obviously, because the euro made some downside there. So sturdy fall there on the German PMI. Was steadily rising from fall 2012, now getting a retracement. So any questions maybe? We got still 6 minutes left until those two candles are closed in the pound odd, and we might have a fractal there. Any questions in the meantime maybe? Let me see if I missed any questions. Nope, I don't think so. Let's see. Pound making indeed the hook back here, potentially. Let me take a look at the bigger picture, or slightly bigger picture. Now, this 1-hour candle is pretty bearish, so that's something you want to be careful of, is that a price action signal like that might see a price push through it and hit the 50 fib. If it does hit the 50 fib, then that could be the bouncing spot. Something to be aware of. That's one of the advantages of waiting for a bit more of a confirmation like a break. Here too, let's take a look at the hourly. How the hourly closes will be giving us some information. If there's no wick, then I would be cautious. If there's a decent wick, maybe about this big, then there's a good chance that this low could provide the double bottom that we were already talking about. I know these are small details, but they could give an edge. So 5 minutes to go. Any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, oh, we do. Good. Pound yen. Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that idea. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, I personally have nothing against trail stop losses. I think they're a good tool to limit risk, to cut losses short and let winners run. So it's just that I usually lose 15, but I don't see anything against the 5. There's nothing against it. It depends about basically where it all depends, of course, on also whether you want to do that. Depends on the specifics of the trade and your trading plan, which is difficult for you to explain because that would take time, but that's also difficult for me to give a total well-balanced answer, but I have nothing against them. I think they're great tools, in fact. You know, and if this moves down and up, then you maybe want to be careful indeed. It still could be a hook back, but then again, it depends how much risk you want to have. If you entered higher, I'm not sure exactly you entered here, you could just think about this as a stop loss, and you'll still be up in pips. If you entered here and you don't want to risk those pips, then you can move it here indeed. So it depends where you entered. Let me know. Maybe that will help. But otherwise, I like trading stops. Euro pound status is downtrend. It looks like this could be a hook back for more downside maybe. We did break yes, those things could be frustrating to have 60 pips and lose it indeed. That's why you want to have indeed a good plan for TP so you don't have those frustrations indeed. That you can indeed, yeah, that's true. So by using a 5-minute trail stop, you do limit that, definitely. So in that case, that's a good idea. And the euro pound seems to be breaking here, so it looks bearish to me. But the euro pound can do anything it wants, really. It has a mind of its own. So who knows? This could be consolidation from our upside as well, like that. But I mean, from the 4-hour point, it is in a downtrend. Status of the dollar yen basically broke support. Now has a chance to fall down to 101.38. Let's see this very last 5-minute move. You can see it stopped at the 61.8 fib. I don't trade small fibs like that, but I'm just showing you what sometimes you could use. Those are a bit dangerous. Sometimes they work very well, but you need a good trending mode. But I just wanted to show you some options, what you can think about. Euro dollar, let's take a look. Seems to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seems to be 6 candles. So this could be a hook back for some small upside up to the red moving averages, and then we could see some more downside, maybe. That seems, because this is bearish candles. Take a look. Let's take a look at the hourly candle as well. That just closed right now. So that doesn't look that much of a wick. It's a small wick. That wick doesn't give us much of a hope of a big bounce. So maybe be careful. I would still wait and see. If we get a good hourly bullish candles, you might want to think of taking the bounce. At the moment, what I would expect is a bit of a bear flag here for the moment. And who knows, maybe we just continue and break the bottom here. So be careful. It looks like bearish for the moment, so that bearish momentum could continue. Now, would I want to short it? No, because not here personally, no. I would rather wait for the bear flag to happen and then short it. My time factor rule did kick in, but the only thing I'm a bit unsure about with regard to my time factor rule is the fact that the momentum is very, very strong, plus it's pretty early in the day. So those two things lead me to the fact that I'm not too enthusiastic about this euro dollar. Rather wait for more price action to give a bit more clue. Let's see, pound dollar. Pound would feel a bit more confident in the fact that this is a hook back, as I said, although I like the pound odd the most. At the moment, though, let's see, the thing that the pound dollar doesn't have is it doesn't have any wick. It's a pretty bearish candle. That doesn't look too good from a price action point of view. And a break of that low might be in the cards. And then if we do break, it could be some fall here to the 50 fib, which could be a bouncing spot. So if you like that trade, it's just a very few pips. What I like a bit more is the 50 fib. So that's one of the reasons that I said waiting for the 5-minute fractal is a bit better sometimes, because then you have the confirmation. Aussie, Kiwi hooking back, dollar cat at the bottom of that flag. Pound yen has a 5-minute, two 5-minute fractals there. Euro yen has a fractal here. Pound odd has a fractal too. I like the pound odd somehow the most, personally. So why? Because if you look at this euro yen, you can see a tremendous fall. If you look at the pound odd, you see a fall too, but it's a fall back to support. On this euro yen chart, we don't have any price action here. It's just like an empty hole. It's just white. So all the price action is above it. Pound odd is back to support. So if I had to choose between them, then I like the pound odd more. We can take a look at the yeah. Now apparently price is still pushing, as we can see. So it's breaking. It's right at this bottom. So my time factor rule isn't perfect. Nothing is. Especially early in the day, it's a bit difficult. Later in the day, it gets a bit better because then you get the consolidation session of the later New York and Asian, and then the impulses are usually over. Well, it hasn't broken the bottom yet, but it is pushing, so there is a chance it could, and it just did right now by a pip, I think. Yes. What we're getting now is we are getting 1-minute divergence, though, between these bottoms. So anyhow, I still like this trade, the break of the 5-minute fractal, so I will put that one on the chart. Let's see. The spread is only 2 pips, so I need to incorporate that if I want to go long. What is the high of this candle? Let me take a look. $185.68, which means $185.70, plus a pip or 2. Let's say 2, so at 185.72. The only thing is I cannot put the stop loss as yet because I don't have a 5-minute bottom here, so I have to wait actually with putting a pending order. But I know the entry, I just don't know the stop loss yet. The TP, I will aim a bit aggressively maybe, but for this minus 272 for the moment. Or maybe even the minus 680, minus 272 target here at 187.40. But you know, it can't price it at the moment because we're still getting the follow through. Let's see, there's divergence here and it is at a fib, so it could be bouncing at this spot. Time will tell if it does. Depends on the pound, which is still inching forward and approaching this bottom. So will we get a double bottom or is it going to break? We'll know soon enough. Time will tell quickly. Wei is asking about Aussie, where maybe one would like to short. I would think anywhere in this zone could be good. We have a trend line here. We have moving averages here. We have a broken trend line here. We have a bottom here. We have the 1-hour top here. So in that regard, anywhere between 89.94 and 90.20 seems good. Let's put a fib on this very downside here. And the 61.8 or the 78.6 looks pretty decent. Now, would you want to put entry order there? Maybe you would, maybe not. If not, I personally probably wouldn't. I think it's too early for the Aussie. But waiting for some 5-minute reaction or 15-minute candlestick pattern there, or a 5-minute break of a fractal, a support fractal, could be the spot where we could see downside. For instance, here too, we saw this fractal break and we got the downside. Kiwi would be roughly the same, although I like the Aussie a bit better. New Zealand is moving down, I think. Let's check. Well, yeah, it's stuck in a no man's land at the moment, but basically on the 15 there is some downside movement here. Bit choppy though. Well, folks, that wraps it up for now. Oh, let's see. This is getting some 1-minute bounce at the 786 fib. Let's see. All right, folks. I'm going to keep an eye on this to see if I can get myself a bounce here. Mason is asking if a descending wedge triangle formed by only 10 candles, is this pattern valid? That's a good question. Not 100% sure. I know that there's certain traders that look at a certain minimum number of candles. I forgot exactly. It was a long time ago. I read a book on that. It's just it was a long time ago. Personally, if I use my own time factor rule, then I wouldn't say it's an invalid formation. I do think it is a formation. I wouldn't say it's not a descending triangle. The only thing is that 10 is indeed a number that is a bit in the middle. It's actually a consolidation pattern that just has started, in a way, in my opinion. I'm not saying that my time factor rules are perfect, but it is a bit early. It's too late to call it an impulse, and it's too early to say that I expect a break of that pattern. I would expect it more like still another 5 or more candles, up to maybe even 15 still. So I wouldn't expect a break to happen early, but I'm sure there are a lot of examples where what I'm saying, is not true, but that's roughly the rule I use. So it would be still early, I think. I wouldn't expect a break soon, let me say it this way. Which currency pair is it? The 1-minute divergence kicking in here. We're getting some upside. Let's see the low of this candle, 185.36. So I'll put that below it, of course, at 32. That would be the stop loss then, at the moment, unless, of course, that low gets broken, logically, because then it wouldn't be the low anymore. So that wraps it up for today. Basically just in the waiting mode to see if we get an upside to dollar CAD. If the odd USD indeed bounces off the resistance, if the pound dollar indeed moves up primarily above this magenta, to be honest, that's the real breakout trade. But maybe after a big consolidation here, there's even a reversal trade possible, as I said. Same on the euro, maybe, although a bear flag and downside is possible too. So it's just too early to tell. We have to monitor it. Dollar yen, maybe a bit more downside. Pound yen, euro yen, questionable. Will we get the bounce or not? I like the pound odd bounce, as I said. We'll keep on monitoring that one. So, folks, we'll be back tonight. In fact, with Tarantula, we're going to take a look at the Bill Williams trading systems. Okay. Thanks all for being here. Thank you for all your comments. Always enjoy those. And we'll wish you a great day. Cheers.
The organizer has